Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. The measles outbreak in Broward and the failure of Florida's current Surgeon General to follow all of the measures necessary to protect children is only the latest example of how those in power seem more interested in political ideology than public health. Later in the show, I'm going to speak with the state's former Surgeon General, Dr. Scott Rifkes, about how the effort by politicians to undermine science have created the crisis we see today. But first, I want to bring in Broward School Superintendent Peter Licata for the latest information on the measles outbreak. Superintendent, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I want to cover a number of things with you, including the possibility of school closures, some issues that are going on at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. But let's start with the measles outbreak.
Sure.
Give us the latest information.
So we have about 73 students absent today. There was an outbreak 2 weeks ago, as we know, and we have a 21-day wait period, which I believe ends on March 7th currently. We only can deal with absolute proven cases. We can't deal with probable or possible. We rely on the health department, which has been phenomenal, by the way. They've really been great with communications. Last week, I decided to go out there and make sure I walk the halls, talk to the students, talk to the teachers, let the community know, talk to some of the parents out there, let them know, it's under control. We have the communications out. We know what we're doing. It's safe, and it was really important that the community did see me walk that. But we're coming back down to an absentee rate which is pretty much normal, and parents do have that ability to be fearful in a sense that yes, it is the measles. So we're looking at those numbers. We see those numbers. We're at about 33 that are unvaccinated in there for various reasons. But I
at that one particular school or district-wide?
At that one particular school.
At that one particular school. And that brings the vaccination rate to that school at what? You're still below 95% there.
No, it's almost over 98, 99%.
98, 99
yes,
now.
yes.
And that was the critical threshold. Prior to this outbreak, it was below 95, which makes it more ripe for spread.
So there's different kinds of numbers out there. The one vaccine, it comes in sets. The one vaccine actually gives you like a 93% chance not to catch it. So we were at that number very high, but right now we're at 98. We did catch up. We did offer the van. The public health department did a great job of giving that. So we are above that. We're really close to 100 right now. But there is always those exemptions that we have to work with.
What's the latest outbreak? I mean, how recent a case do you have? Do you have one within the next few days, or do you still project that by the middle of next week you'll be outside that 21-day window?
At this time, we believe we'll be outside that 21-day window. We did have one earlier this week, but they hadn't been on campus for a couple of weeks, so we're in a good place right now. Knock on wood, we feel like we're in a good place to where it's going to fizzle out, but it's a reality.
Look, you gave credit to the local health department for the work they did. Obviously, there's been some criticism of how the state health department, and particularly the Florida Surgeon General, has dealt with this, sending a letter to parents, not necessarily encouraging them to get their children vaccinated, leaving it up to parents to decide whether unvaccinated children should be attending school as opposed to the school district, which may have had the authority to, or previously had the authority to say, if you're unvaccinated, please stay home for the next 21 days. I know I don't want to get you in trouble with the governor, because certainly this is a governor who can yank school superintendents, for less. But how was that navigating the politics with the public health?
So we make a decision to be educators, and we let those things end in those arenas and work in those arenas. We also rely on what the doctors and what the health department tells us. We've been in constant communication with the Department of Education, the Commission of Education, and we've worked through this. There's always been the parental exemption choice on that for various reasons, including religious. We also have some students that are medically fragile that can't take it. So even my years as a principal 20 years ago, we still had a few exemptions through there. So we don't want to take the parental right away, but we want to make sure that, and we did this in this case, give every bit of information, communication, medically backed information that says what your risks, what it does, how does it work, so forth and so on. So we really wanted to give the information out, let the medical professionals deal with it from there. But as a school, we always are in a reaction mode, whether it be testing, whether it be, we're in a reaction mode, and we do a good job of it.
Last question on this. Did Dr. Latipo make your job harder?
I don't know if he made it harder. My job's pretty hard already. Their office communicated with us quite nicely about the letter that was sent out, and we want to make sure we control it to the community that we're doing. So it's not in the script, and you work through it, and you put your communication skills together, but make sure you're talking to the parents and the community, and the principal did a great job too.
Real quick on this, do we have issues with any other vaccinations? I mean, I remember the measles, rubella, all of that. Are we seeing any other vaccine hesitancy that may come up? We've dealt now with measles. Is there anything else on the horizon that concerns you?
Well, the MMR it gets 3 mumps, measles, and rubella. So that comes in a series of 2. I haven't seen anything other than that. We did have the COVID situation a few years ago, and we worked through that as well, but that's really the main one.
All right, I want to turn to the issue of school closures. You're facing some decisions coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've seen declining enrollments in Broward, and the numbers are all over the place right now, from a minimum of 5 schools being closed to I've seen some school members talking about 20, 30, 40 school closures. Tell me where you are right now in your process of deciding. It doesn't seem to be a question of whether to close schools. It seems to me you're right now at a position of how many schools to close.
Right. So our message has been clear. It's been interpreted differently from others. I was tasked to make sure that we repurpose 5 schools. Repurposing could mean boundary changes, could mean changing programs, could mean changing grade levels, could mean closing, could mean turning it into public housing. So many different things there. We do have quite a few schools that are under-enrolled. We're down about 50,000 students over the last 20 years, and we're expecting to drop another 3,000, maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 next year. We can't continue to do what we do as good as we do it by spending money on things we don't have. And what I'm saying is we're spending money on children we don't have, and let's make sure we're spending money on the children we do have and the facilities we do have. We'll be closing 30 schools. Highly unlikely. I can't say that. But we have the ability to make have an opportunity to make a difference and make sure we're spending the money in the right way. Our budget has to be predicated on the students we have. So there's going to be some tough decisions. We're going to have a series of meetings with that. We did already have the series with the community. We want to make sure the community knows we're listening.
You said something recently, I'm quoting you now, I believe in my heart that if we were to piecemeal this, we would be our own worst enemy and we would not be transparent. In other words, there's been a theory that says, maybe you'll close 5 or 6 schools now, you'll close another 6 or 7 another time, another 6 or 7 that. It's the Band-Aid theory. Do you just rip it off and go with a big number up front? Guide me as to what your thoughts is regarding that.
So that's the final decision with the board. They're all in. We know what we have to do. But in my research and talking to a lot of superintendents around the country that have done this, their research and their actions have shown that let's be serious, let's be real, let's do what's right, let's make an impact now, because in order to do it over a long period of time, eventually everyone's on edge. Let's get it, let's communicate it, let's have a right plan for where these kids may go if we do close, what are the programs that are going to be going into the schools, where the transportation routes are going to be, and what new programs are we offering to make us more viable, or what schools are doing really well that we want to replicate. So it's an opportunity, but yeah, you can't just do one here, one there. We know that. We'll do what we need to, and I'm going to have a big presentation on the 20th to the board.
But you've got to know now. You know in your head right now that you're probably looking at, what, 15 to 20 schools?
We're looking at addressing 15 to 20 schools and repurposing. That doesn't mean they're closing. It means we're doing something different with them. It's a tough thing. You can't start predicting without talking to everybody.
But I made some news right there, right? You haven't actually used the 15 to 20. Right now the benchmark has been 5. I think it's fair to say 15 to 20 is what's likely to be presented in March, correct?
Could be impacted. Oh yeah, 15 to 20 will be presented. That will be impacted through this. It could be even more that are impacted but not closed.
Hey, let me ask you this, because obviously the declining enrollment is not just because people are fleeing Broward County. It's that they're making the choice to take the voucher or take the quote-unquote scholarship that the state provides and go to charter schools or go to private schools. So my question to you is, should the Broward schools be doing a better job of marketing your product? Because it seems that parents get flyers and are inundated with commercials and advertisements about all these new charter schools. Are they hearing from the school district? Are you actually out there making the case you should be making?
So you bring up a good point, Jim. This didn't happen overnight. There are entities out there that offer educational opportunities for children, and we welcome that competition. But this is not something that happened overnight. And yes, I spent a lot of time marketing, did 3 interviews yesterday, putting it out there as much as we can. But when we don't have the budget to market and budget to go ahead and expand our programs that everyone likes, that's our fault for not budgeting properly. So that's why we're doing this. Yeah, there are other entities out there. Vouchers have made an impact. Charter schools are pretty flat on their enrollment. Private schools are flat, but they have wait lists. What we need to do is look at what we do really well, where we have wait lists, and replicate those type of programs. Look, Broward County is not growing as many as in families. They're growing in families that don't have children yet or have already had families, and it's a vertical city. The city is growing this way, or the county is growing north.
I want to just stay with this, and we're going to go a little longer. I'm alerting my producer that we're going to go just a little bit longer on this. You know, one of the issues that I think I see is that you've got schools in affluent areas that have low enrollment, but you probably have more active parental base in those communities.
Yes.
What assurances can you have that, you know, kids who go to poor neighborhood schools, you know, who may not have the clout and the ability to speak out, are going to not end up bearing the brunt of this and having their neighborhood schools closed, while more affluent neighborhoods that have declining enrollments aren't going to be affected?
I've been very clear on that. This is going to impact the entire county, and some of those areas that may have been ignored or not listened to over the last 40, 50 years are the neighborhoods I'm walking into myself personally, and making sure I meet with them and talk and say, hey, what can we do, what can't we do? There's some sensitivity in certain structures, certain namings of schools we have to be very careful of, but at the end of the day, we have to be very wide-eyed on this and not look at one area. We have to look all the way across the board, and that's the thing. If you look at the data that we've presented over the community town halls, it impacts the entire county.
All right, I want to change. Last question is about Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. You know, there was another tour with Congressman Jared Moskowitz taking folks through the building in which the deaths occur. At what point does that building get torn down? Yeah,
we have it scheduled for June 17th. To be torn down. It's going to be cleaned shortly after spring break. As you know, I don't like to use the word tour, walk through. My first intuition when I first arrived was let's get it down, but then I realized there were some people like Jared that could make a difference and has the power to make our schools safer.
What's going to go in there instead?
Well, that's the next step. After we do that, I've gotten input from the school and the community and the staff there about that. We'll get input from the school board as well, but it's up for some debate. We do have some money for it that was set aside, and we look forward to making a space that's vibrant, that's respectful, that holds the children in a great, and the staff members in a great place, but also that future generations of children can also use. So it's going to be a tough one, but I think we got a good plan moving forward on that one.
You'll have to come back. You successfully negotiated a new contract with teachers. You're dealing with that. You passed all that. So other than occasional measles outbreak and a declining population, the job's easy, right?
Yeah, well, we're still educating kids, and our scores look really good, and that's our number one priority, becoming an A district. All this, but our priority still remains educating children, all of them.
Peter Licata, I appreciate your coming in. Thank you. All right, up next, when we come back, my interview with the state's former Surgeon General, Dr. Scott Rifkes. Stay with us.